News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm John Tucker.
All right, John, thank you. The war with Iran is now into its 11th day, but President Trump is signaling it could be over very soon. At a news conference from his resort in Doral, Florida, the president said the conflict might not end this week, but it is going ahead of schedule.
Doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. President Trump says the U.S. has hit 5,000 targets in Iran. He says its military capacity is down to 10% and drone launches have decreased 83%. He's promising to bring oil prices down that he says have gone artificially up because of the excursion. We get more from Bloomberg's Jumana Bersecci in Dubai.
Clearly, what has happened here is he is responding to global markets and the impact that the energy shock is beginning to have on some of these global energy markets and obviously ultimately the U.S. consumer here. And he also made another very strong threat to the IRGC, saying that if they continue to block oil transportation through the Straits, they will be hit by the United States 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far.
Bloomberg's Jumana Bersecci reports the president says he's discussed waiving some oil-related sanctions in a call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and he's considering other options to bring oil and gas prices down, including releases from emergency stockpiles and a pause on federal gas taxes. In the meantime, blasts continue to be heard across Iran. Saudi Arabia and Bahrain have been dealing with incoming projectiles overnight, and Turkey says NATO is deploying a U.S.-made Patriot missile defense system to its south. That's after the alliance intercepted 2 Iranian missiles over Turkish airspace in recent days.
And the price of oil continues to drop following the president's comments on the war. As Bloomberg's Will Kennedy reports, it was quite an historic day in the energy markets.
It was a wild day in oil markets yesterday. It was the biggest fall from the intraday peak to the close that the market's ever seen, more than $30. Pretty extraordinary trading. Yes, the market's calmer. They heard what they wanted to hear from the president, which is that he sees an end to the war in a relatively short time. And if that happens, it would allow the oil market to return to normal.
And Bloomberg's Will Kennedy says the intense swings on Monday saw Brent trade in a band of about $36. That is the most on record in the widest range since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022.
We also saw quite the turnaround in the equity markets, John. The S&P 500 was down as much as 1.5%, but it closed higher by 0.8%, and the NASDAQ rose 1.4%. Cameron Dawson, Chief Investment Officer at New Edge Wealth, though, is still cautious.
I think that we might be a little bit early for opportunities. Again, we get back to those technicals where we see flush metrics of things being sold too far, too fast, indiscriminate selling. There's going to be great buying opportunities that come out of this, but we're not seeing those measures flash the warning signs yet that suggest that you should back up the truck.
It's New Edge Wealth's Cameron Dawson. Yesterday, the SIBO Volatility Index, the so-called fear gauge for Wall Street, tumbled 13% after reaching its highest level since last April.
And Nathan, let's turn to politics. A couple of critical primaries in the Deep South today. This is where voters are going to choose nominees to represent Mississippi in Congress. And in Georgia, voters are going to decide who's going to succeed former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Bloomberg's Amy Morris reports from Washington.
In Georgia, more than 15 candidates are running in the special election for Representative Greene's seat, rated as the most Republican-leaning in Georgia by the Cook Political Report. Most of the contenders are Republicans, but Clay Fuller won President Trump's endorsement. Democrats are looking to retired Army General Sean Harris, who won the nomination in 2024. In Mississippi, Republican Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith faces a primary challenge from physician and novelist Sarah Adlaka. Representative Benny Thompson, the delegation's only Democrat, faces 2 primary challengers in his bid for an 18th term. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
Amy, thank you. The high-stakes battle between Anthropic and the U.S. government continues this morning. The artificial intelligence giant is suing the Defense Department for declaring the company a risk to the U.S. supply chain and shifting its AI work to other providers. Seth Fiegerman is covering the story for Bloomberg.
What we're hearing from Anthropic here in a statement is they're taking this step to protect their customers and their business. At the same time, though, they're telling us that they intend to pursue all avenues here to try to mediate this relationship with the government, including direct conversation with the government. So they're not foreclosing the continuation of talks here, but they are still pursuing litigation.
Bloomberg's Seth Fiegerman says the dispute erupted last month after the Pentagon wanted to use Anthropic's Claude chatbot for any purpose within legal limits and without any usage restrictions. Anthropic's insisted its chatbot not be used for mass surveillance against Americans or in fully autonomous weapons operation.
That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm John Tucker.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.